It's 9:40 in the morning, local time. Paul Ricard, there is not a cloud in the sky. It is a very hot day already. And for the teams in the Blancpain GT Series Endurance Cup, they've got quite a day ahead of them because qualifying is coming up in a few minutes' time. And then they have a 6-hour race that goes to midnight. And it, of course, goes to the darkness all race in prospect. It's going to be grueling inside the cars. It's going to be a grueling race all round. And it's another feature of what is proving to be another very exciting season. It's a great part of the world here near Le Castellet where Paul Ricard is situated. The circuit looking absolutely fantastic these days. More and more competition here rather than just being a test track. It's got the echoes of the past. It's a modern facility as well, and it is a great place to be this weekend. David Addison and John Watson with you as ever for the Endurance Cup. John, looking forward to a great day.
I am, but I have to say, I'm quite a bit concerned about this being a tough event. Tough for who? They've got 3 drivers per car. Maximum 2 hours in a 6-hour race. There are 2 commentators in the booth. We've got no relief. We've got no co-commentators. They're not lined up outside the commentary booth, filtering in every hour to take. You know, we are the tough guys. I've had in, sorry folks, cameramen out on the racetrack in the blistering sun. And the production unit behind us, stifling in a non-air conditioned, almost, going back to prehistory days in the subcontinent when people were struggling, massive numbers. Oh, don't start me in all this.
So all these cameramen out in the sunshine, topping up their tan. Yeah, my sympathy gland is working overtime for them, John. And at least it's not the Nürburgring in the rain where we've been for 6 hours in the past. Anyway, enough of the weather, enough of the hardships of life. The fans are out bright and early, and they're witnessing at the moment the Lamborghini Blancpain Super Trofeo qualifying session. That's coming towards its close, and then we'll be in business for the serious bit of Blancpain GT Series Endurance Cup qualifying. John is right when he says that it's 3 drivers per car. There are 1 or 2 entries with just 2 drivers, and they're going to have a really long slog through the afternoon into the night, but the majority go as is the traditional method. For the 3, you've got the overall, the Pro-Am and the Am Cup to look forward for, 3 battles across each. And last year, we had that great battle going to the very end between Nissan and Bentley, and it was a Nissan victory, a really popular result after all Bob Neville's travails to finally come good and score an outright victory. This year, though, John, Nissan not very optimistic.
Well, you say that, and you could have set it up until about an hour ago, but my little spy in the paddock, that well-known Uzbekistani journalist, rumour has it, has told me that there has been some form of relief for the Nissan team. And they may well have been given a little bit more air, or whatever, fuel and air, because they're losing, I think, 13 kilometers per hour on the straight compared to last year. They're over a second a lap slower than they were last year. Now, Alex Buncombe hasn't retrograded. The car hasn't gone backwards. It's our best friend in Blancpain GT racing, BOP. And there have been a number of adjustments prior to coming here. And all I will say is check out who was quickest in the sessions that we've had, the bronze test and then the practice sessions that we had on Friday evening. And you will see that those cars, by chance, happen to be the quickest cars down the very long Mistral straight. So it is all about BOP, and there will be a little bit of tuning going on overnight to give some teams back a little bit. I think some of the Mercedes, for example, have also had a reassessment of their BOP. It's a question of throwing all the cards up in the air, and then let's see where we are and try and get it right for this evening's 6-hour event. It's going to be a cracking event. Qualifying will have a major bearing on it. And I mean, I think it's ironic that the car that won last year, the 2 cars that both Nissans are in the 40s, 45th and 47th or 8th from what they did last night. Now, okay, maybe they didn't run fresh rubber, maybe they weren't doing an out-and-out simulation of qualifying, but how do you go from being a winner to 48th? You tell me.
I go with your assumption of BOP. I think that is a very sensible way of describing it. Years ago, people would also tell you that this was the race you didn't want to win, because coming before Spa, if you did well here, it would affect your BOP for the real Blue Ribbon event at Spa. Audi traditionally has never done very well here, but always goes well at Spa, for example. So if you show your hand here, you end up being ballasted or restricted for Spa. I'm not suggesting Nissan is playing the game because they want to do as well as they can possibly do, but also in a sense, this is the race where you don't always want to have the fastest car.
I mean, that very sentiment was expressed in the paddock yesterday, that, you know, some teams think that they've got something up there, whatever's, in hand for Spa. And if you look back 1 week ago at another 24-hour race in France, where there was massive upheaval within GT3 or whatever it happens to be, they run at Le Mans, because some people suddenly had a much greater performance. So there's certain key races, Spa 24 being the most important race of the calendar in terms of GT3 racing globally. Everybody wants to do well there. So as you say, maybe there is an element of sort of hedging your bets and not showing your hand until suddenly you rock up to Spa-Francorchamps and, oh, well, we just made a small adjustment to the camber and we found 5 seconds a lap. Strange,
Gosh,
isn't it? Yeah, I mean, wow.
Yeah, what's the other cliche? Keeping one's powder dry. Something else that's interesting is the entry for this weekend, because to take as an example, Mercedes. Now, we've talked about already the importance of the Spa 24 hours. Mercedes had a ripper time at the Nürburgring 24, absolutely dominated that, and the lead changed on the last lap. It was an amazing finish to the race. But clearly, Mercedes fancies its chances of winning Spa. And a third HTP car has been brought in this weekend. Mercedes, you get the feeling, here for more than just making up the numbers and having something to do for the weekend. You've got Christian Hohenadel, who was the unlucky driver that lost out on that last lap, although he did rather leave the door open for Maro Engel. Thomas Jaeger and Jules Szymkowiak. They're the 3 drivers, and that's going to be another car. But the fact there's an extra, very quick Mercedes here does suggest you're starting to see Mercedes with designs on winning at Spa as well.
I mean, it is the race. If anybody wants to win one race in the year, that everybody wants to win. We saw a brilliant battle last year with the VDS BMW finally taking victory, and you in their swan song year. I mean, right now, and looking here into the Mercedes garage, I mean, they've got so many of these new AMG GT3Rs. What a magnificent race car it is. What a fantastic car.
And there, for Black Falcon, is 0-0, another new entry for this weekend. The drivers, you've got Abdulaziz Al-Faisal, you've got Jelmer Berman, and you've got Bernd Schneider.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to mean Bernd Schneider. Well, I've said all you can say about Bernd Schneider. But I mean, again, if anybody's going to win a 6-hour race and Bernd Schneider's in that car, you've got to think. I mean, what a fantastic package that's going to be.
Yeah.
And I mean, Jelmer Berman, again, somebody we haven't seen a huge amount of this year in GT3 in the Blancpain Sprint Series and Endurance Series. So, strong lineup.
And Black Falcon, a team that won the Nordschleife for the Nürburgring 24 hours and is now certainly being well regarded by Mercedes AMG. You know, they've chipped away and worked their way up as one of the top teams and now looking very strong indeed. Now let's go down to the pit lane. Dakota Jane is patrolling the pits and she's caught up this morning with British driver Johnny Adam.
Johnny, tell me how you're feeling about the race today.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Obviously, the temperature's very hot already this morning. And last year we had a good race here, good fun race in the night. So, yeah, we're well prepped for later on.
And what's your favourite part of the track, if you don't mind me asking?
There's a good mixture of all sorts, really. High speed in Sector 3 and then slow technical stuff in Sector 1. So it's a good circuit. It's very wide in places as well. But, yeah, temperature's going to be a real issue, I think, for a lot of people. In car as well, it's going to be so hot later on.
Yeah, and how do you think that's going to affect your car, the heat?
We've got good, not air conditioning, but good ventilation through the car, so we've done as much work, especially for this weekend, to try and get as much air in the cockpit as possible. But yeah, we'll be definitely working for it later on.
Well, I hope you stay cool, and I'm sure you'll have a good race later.
Cool, thank you very much.
No problem.
An interesting view from Johnny Adam there. I mean, it will be a tough 6 hours. One element in the driver briefing that I mean, first of all, my hobby horse, I keep banging on about it all the time. But I look forward to it, is track limits, lack of respect of, something that on modern circuits, and Paul Ricard is no longer considered a modern circuit in some of the other tracks that we visit, but nevertheless, turn 7, the left-hand corner onto the Mistral Straight, and turn 10, Scene corner at the end of the Mistral Straight. Abuse of track limits will get you 2 warnings, and if you refuse to obey those 2 warnings, then you will get a drive-through penalty. Thank whomever
for that. Yes.
That now we are getting the kind of not legislation but regulation that says, look, here are limits, do not abuse them. We saw last year, in fact, I thought some cars were about to go to Toulon. They were taking an exit off the Scene corner all the way down onto route RN8.
Now the session is live. We have Q1 underway. We'll start to have a look at times once we've got a flying lap or two under their belt. Just to go back to John's point, the race director, Alan Adam, has issued a track map for this weekend, showing where there are bollards, where there are floppy markers, and in one or two places, the inside of turn 6, for example, you've got sleeping policemen. But around the outside of Senior, you've got these floppies, and if you continue to abuse, as John says, you will end up being penalised, and that is a good thing. There's one part of the circuit which really is turn 1, where it's wide open. People can cut the circuit there, but hopefully they will behave themselves, and the brains trust in race control will be on top of all of this. The number 78 Lamborghini, a quick look at, heading out on track, and that is the car of Leo Machitsky, Marco Mappelli and Phil Keane joining this weekend, taking over from Marco Attard. And there is number 19 Lamborghini, the Michele Beretta, Andrea Piccini, Luca Stolz car. And we know that Luca Stolz, Andrea Piccini and Michele Beretta are all quick drivers. The long Mistral straight is being used for the purposes of the Blancpain GT Series Endurance Cup. No chicanes. There will be chicanes used for different support races this weekend, but for these cars it's the full Mistral straight, and all the different national colours swooping around the circuit for the painted runoff areas, which is meant to retard the progress of cars, and we'll see how that affects things. One of the excuses used from drivers, don't put floppy markers up or don't put any bollards in the way, is that if we go off the road on that runoff paint, then it'll do for our tyres, so we don't need any floppy markers. Well, there's no evidence, says the race director, that the tyres actually do suffer by going over that too much, so floppy markers it is. We'll keep an eye on times, we'll keep an eye on individual sessions, and then how it's going to affect the grid overall. There's a real traffic jam in the pit lane just down below us at the moment, where we've got a Bentley being blocked in by a Mercedes, and there's absolutely no room already, so some of the teams struggling even to get out on track. So once again, it's a hugely busy pit lane, and with what have we got, 57 or so cars, it's going to be busy, busy, busy. And John, going towards the end of the race, just looking ahead, you've got, as we've seen in the past, battles going on all the way. You've got the darkness to contend with and the age-old problem of traffic. So the pro drivers really are having to be on their toes.
Yes, I mean, it's always difficult, and as you get to the end of a race, it's going to be in darkness. For many of the drivers, well, it will be, in fact, for everybody here this weekend, it will be the first time they've raced on the track this year in darkness, because there was no nighttime practice on Friday evening. And some drivers, some teams were thinking, well, is there a reason for that? Because suddenly, I mean, teams are going to go into the night, and stupid things like just, are your headlights adjusted to their maximum effect? Or have you got issues with sighting certain corners? Also, marker boards around the racetrack which are illuminated to help you to know the braking zones. Sometimes the illumination on those is so powerful it comes back into your retinas, makes your eyes go all funny. Lots of little things that the amateur drivers, more than the pro drivers, might find slightly disturbing.
So there, number 19 Lamborghini pressing on. The two purple boxes say that they are absolute best sector times. Well, that's almost a given, because it's really the only car thus far that's on a proper flying lap. We haven't got any lap times yet, but we will as this first 15 minutes of qualifying unravels. You've got Michele Beretta in this car, Olivier Beretta taking over from Giancarlo Fisichella this weekend, fastest Ferrari team in free practice yesterday evening. So lots of star names as ever coming into the entry. You've got Jan Magnussen making a Blancpain debut this weekend, with the Lamborghini way up on the curb there, John.
Yes, just going back to the Audi team, something interesting is going on. It was pointed out to me yesterday. Jan Magnussen in a WRT Audi. Why? Antonio Garcia in a WRT Audi earlier this year. Why? The common theme is they're both Chevrolet drivers. Why are they being given buys to come and race Audis and orange? Just a thought, something that you may develop or so.
And another part of it is that many, many years ago, when Jan Magnussen was racing in the UK in Formula Ford back in 1992, that was the year that a certain Vincent Voss started racing, and they got to know each other in British Formula Ford and got on very well, and said one day we might do something together. Finally, that day has come, apparently.
Well, I mean, it's just sort of say that this conspiracy theory is, why would two factory Chevrolet drivers be coming across to race in the Blancpain GT Endurance Championship event in a WRT-RD.
It's interesting, isn't
Don't
it?
know. I don't know. I have no idea. But it was just something that had been cast into the conversation.
It's good to have Jan on the grid because we haven't seen too much of him for a while. And of course, son Kevin back into Formula One this year with the Renault team. Now, number 2 Audi you're looking at, that's the car of Stuart Leonard, Michael Meadows and Robin Frins. It is Stuart Leonard shown as the man behind the wheel of the car at the moment. Working his way out of Signet, down through de Beausset. And then the speed building all the time up towards the completion of the lap. Now, do we have a proper lap time offered up yet? The answer is Raymond Narak's Porsche, which is a Pro-Am class car, is under 2 minutes 1.1. The best time of anybody yesterday in the free practice session was a 1:57.6 by Olivier Beretta, so we're some way off that. But again, as ever, don't expect the best times to come until Q3 when the cars are at their lightest and you've got the real guns behind the wheel.
Yes, and also they may choose, as always, to run one of their new sets of tyres just to get that additional benefit, because with a 57-58 car grid here, Robin Frins looking on in the IDWRT garage, looking very cool with the new shades. And I thought that was Sinead Cusack. I thought Sinead Cusack had turned up in the WRT, but it wasn't. It was Lawrence Van Thor. Funny the likeness, isn't it?
A new career beckons for Lawrence Van Thor, yes, and his new streamlined look. Right, on board Nissan number 23. John, talk us round.
Right, let me just figure out where we are on the track coming through. Yeah, we are just coming down to. Yeah, okay, we're just coming up into turn 12 via Virage de Bendor. Double left-hand corner, always the second part. Here is the key to make your apex. Release the car, you can run the curb on the outside, that's not going to get you into trouble. Flat out all the way through this Courbe de Garlabin. Then again, tight, long, again, position on the exit of the Virage du Lac. And then final turn 15, Virage du Pont. Got to get the car straightened up. Lots of people will use the curb, that's legitimate. The danger of using the curb is it can sometimes allow the back end to snap into a quick oversteer. Flat out over the start-finish line, down into turn 1. But this was revised, some 8-10 years ago. A much tighter left and right. Previously, it was a mega white-knuckle ride. That, I tell you what, you knew you were a racing driver when you went through that quickly. But because of the interest of the little darlings, which we call racing drivers, they have to be put into cotton wool and mollycoddled and good. Oh, can't go through a quick corner like that. Get a life, you idiots. That was the reason why they did it, you see.
Ah, yes,
that was the message.
Right.
Anyway,
just let you hold that thought, everybody.
Yeah, turn 7. On to the Mistral Straight.
Oh, yes.
And quickest part of the circuit, understandably. Up to about, I suspect, I think we're going back to last year, just over 280 kilometers per hour.
And the Emil Frey Jaguar, an increasingly competitive car, ahead of the Nissan there.
Yeah, and the Nissan was the gun cars, to use your language, David, on the straight last year.
Yeah.
I mean, the battle between Stephen Kane and Alex Buncombe was mesmerizing. It was a fantastic battle. And I've never seen either driver looking so stressed out when the race finished. And the Nissan had the advantage on the straight. The Bentley was slightly better in Sector 1 and Sector 3. All told, it evened itself out. Alex Buncombe, I saw him this morning, and he was saying, well, you know, I don't know where the time's gone. Well, I have a good idea, in fact. So they're hoping that they're going to find a little bit more pace this morning and consequently in qualifying to put themselves as the winners from last year. You have to think the winners from that. Oh, this is really getting messy now. Time being lost, frustration, and of course the Jaguar's got really good straight line speed. Squirts off, final turn 15, down across start finish line. This one just trying to get any slipstream it possibly can to get up alongside into turn 1, which he should be able to do, but not necessarily the case because we're cut from it.
That's the Mistral Straight. We're looking at the Black Falcon Mercedes en masse, and another reminder of the variety. Bentley's in the background as well.
There's a pairing that had a great weekend last weekend. Matt Griffin in particular. He had the fastest lap of all the GTE, whatever they call them at Le Mans. They had a problem when they went out, and Matt Griffin was very proud of the fact. He was also wearing I shouldn't say this, you can't be almost unique. He is a member of the Irish Racing Drivers Club. And surprisingly, you have to be an Irishman to be a part of that club. He's wearing the badge.
Good lad.
Very proudly too.
Good man. Now, Rob Bell is the fastest, or was, because he's just lost that top time to Philippe Salaquada by just over a tenth of a second. But you've also got Greg Gilvert going strongly. He's done the absolute best in the first sector in number 26 Audi. Number 30 Bentley is one of the Am Cup cars, and it's the Chris Cooper, Chris Harris, Derek Pierce Bentley that Stuart Parker's eponymous team runs. But Salaquada is the fastest. The best time thus far is a 1:58.318. And the Am Cup Bentley heading up towards the last corner. John was talking earlier about using the curb coming out, but that's another part of the circuit. Look left, you just see there the little floppies that have been put in behind the curb, so you can't run too wide, hopes the race director. But you would wonder, wouldn't you, John, after 6 hours of racing, whether those floppy markers are still going to exist?
Well, I suspect that they won't. But, I mean, on the exit of turn 15 onto pit straight, there's no perceptual or perceived advantage to running all four wheels right, because you actually will end up losing time. Where the concern is on turn 7 coming onto the Mistral straight, where you can carry a lot more speed by running four wheels off the circuit. And here, on the exit of Scene, where again we saw a lot of drivers last year, I mean, well and truly off. Again, the reason why there was no penalty applied last year was because the view was that if you go so far off track, you don't gain anything at all. But that view has been modified this year to say there's a restriction on what you can do on the exit of 7 and the exit of turn 10. That's about the maximum you could expect to see 84 Mercedes. Who's behind 84 at the minute?
Dominic Baumann, and it's just gone quickest.
Yep.
A 1:58.159, so the times are coming down. Good effort that by Dominic Baumann.
But that exit would be, I would have said, that's the maximum you can use of the exit of turn 15, and consequently has gone quickest. So whether he benefited from that or not is something that will be considered, but I don't think anything will be done. I think it was an acceptable exit from a corner that's always been a difficult corner to get right, but again, using a lot of the inside of the circuit, which you're fully entitled to do.
Now, is this going to be a Mercedes-friendly circuit? You think the car's got lots of grunt, long straights, should suit it? Do we expect a good result from Mercedes out of this?
I think some people feel that Mercedes have also had a readjustment of their BOP, and that they may not have quite the performance that we saw in our earlier endurance events, but noticing yesterday that which car was it, the 84 car, I think, was third quickest overall. It was Maximilian Baumann and Jasmine Jafar were third quickest on them on 58.0. So they're a tenth of a second off, and that time was at the Maximilian book last night. So they're a tenth of a second off what they did in Friday evenings in that pre-qualifying practice or pre-qualifying session.
I know we're early days yet, but interesting that you've got Mercedes, Audi, McLaren, Audi, the top four, so there's a bit of variety up there. But you've got Nissan 7th, Lucas Ordonez, the number 23, Nissan going strongly. Where's the best of the other Mercedes? You've got 6th quickest Hubert Haupt, and where do we find a Ferrari at the moment? Quite a long way down. Like a long way down. You have to go to find Ferrari. Lamborghini not startling either yet, but it's only Q1 of the 3, and as soon as the race gets underway, that grid goes out of the window anyhow. So it's of interest, but don't read too much into all of this. And John makes the point about tyres as well as drivers who are the quickest going out a bit later. Dominic Baumann is the fastest still.
And he has improved fractionally. He's now done a 1:58.066, so they've actually gone within a few thousandths of a second quicker than they did last night. So that lap had no purples, but it had green, green, green. So Baumann made a marginal improvement, which he will be happy with, because that's what you will look for to get just continuity. Oh, that's running very wide indeed. Number 26, as it runs way wide coming to turn 4. Gregory Gilbert, Nissan Lock Racing Audi.
He's going well, isn't he? 5th quickest.
Yeah, but no wonder he runs quite wide out of corners. He's giving himself the opportunity. Turn 6 has never been a corner that anybody's considered to be one where you would get an advantage, but 7 and 10, as we keep harping on about, is the area that's under scrutiny.
Another car that's going strongly in the sectors is number 90 Ferrari, Ezequiel Perez Companc at the wheel. Personal best, absolute best. The car is on its last lap because the checkered flag has just come out. It's in the last sector, 16 fastest currently, but there could well be an improvement on the cards. We're looking at the Audi of Greg Gilbert, the Santilok car, but the Ferrari, I'm intrigued to see what sort of improvement it might be able to offer up. It's just gone over the timing line to 11th, number 90 Ferrari. So good, but not mega, but good. And there's more to come potentially as we ravel through the next two elements of qualifying.
So it's a Mercedes, an Audi and a McLaren and another Audi.
And drivers now, I think, getting the message that the flag is out. So Greg Gilbert was held up in traffic anyway, but it would make sense to take the checkered flag in the pit lane because it gives you that little bit more time to do whatever you need to do to the car, get your co-driver in ready for Q2 rather than doing a slowing down lap and coming in after the flag because you actually waste time by doing that. So the smart teams will be on the radio, flag out, abort the lap, come in. And that's what Santilok advises. I think HTP will do the same for Dominic Baumann as John to the top of the times goes.
Number 23, Lucas Ordóñez from España.
So the
Nissan suddenly popped out of, where has that come from? 157.978. Now, am I a prophecy? Did I get that story right when we were blethering on air?
John, there are many adjectives for you.
Blethering is not one of them.
Prophecy might be another one. Right, we need Dakota to go and interrogate Bob Neville here and find out why the Nissan has suddenly become, once more, a competitive car. He was all doom and gloom yesterday. I should imagine he's a lot more chipper this morning.
Well, I mean, look at Ordóñez will be delighted. I mean, Alex Buncombe will be delighted.
Yeah.
And Alex, you know, he gave me the sort of the steer as to what may be possible, but quickest, 57.978. Okay, it's 0.8088 of a second quicker than Dominic Baumann in a 2016. But this Nissan dates back to about 2012.
Yeah.
Almost into the GT1 days, then into GT3. And that represents what GT3 racing is all about. That car is as close as you can get to the showroom model, and you'd go down to your friendly Datsun Nissan dealer and buy. Whereas if you look at the 2016 models that have been the dominant manufacturers in this season, they are so almost becoming like silhouette GT cars. But that represents the true spirit of GT3 racing. And I mean, I think there'll be a few people in the pit lane going, hey, what's that all about? 48th yesterday, fastest now.
Yeah, Claude Sermon, who's the technical director, he's going to be a popular man as people go and talk to him. Now, can we have a bit of boost? Can we have our BOP looked at? Anyway, let's, for the moment, give Lucas Ordóñez all credit because he did the time. Only 88 thousandths quicker than anybody else, but even so, it's the fastest at the end of Q1. So Ordóñez, Baumann, Salaquada, Bell, Dries Vanthoor and Gilbert is the top 6. And so now everybody gets ready for the second qualifying session. There'll be an extra couple of cars. You've got, as I say, these two driver entries. They will make their way out for this next aspect of qualifying.
Interesting, car 101, the attempt to racing Lamborghini, had its lap 6 cancelled due to track limit abuse. So the guys up in the race control are on the job.
Absolutely.
Bob Neville, we see they're in discussion with some of the engineers. And Bob, have your blokes shown their hand too soon, Bob? You know,
yeah.
All of a sudden there we are. There's going to be rumblings, you know. The jungle drums are going to be beating up and down the pit lane.
It's all part of the charm of GT racing, isn't it? You can never take anything for granted. And ultimately, everyone trying to make sure it's a competitive race. The Black Falcon 00 Mercedes heads down to its pit box. Now, let's find out more about Nissan's suddenly rejuvenated pace. Bob Neville is down in the pit lane. Let's hear from him now with Dakota.
Bob, congratulations. Where did that come from?
Well, there's no congratulations due yet. I mean, traditionally, the fastest times are at the end.
Well, it was very fast, and it set you up for a good race later.
Well, we hope so, yeah. That's what we like to do. We're just running a bit less rear wing, and we seem to have found some speed, so...
So you won again here last year. Do you think you can win again?
Well, as I say, it's too early to say yet. It's just the first session of quali, and I think everyone's going to go a lot quicker at the end.
Well, good luck for the race later.
Right. Thanks very much.
So Bob Neville not giving anything away. We're running a bit less rear wing and we found some speed. It's all he's prepared to offer up. So, OK, we'll go with that for now, Bob. Yep. But more interrogation, no doubt, will come in the lunch break before we get to the race itself. And that lap time you can compare now as the cars get lighter, and as he says, everyone will go quicker, absolutely right. But don't suggest for a moment that Nissan is going to be uncompetitive. They've proved what kind of lap times might be in the car, and now we'll see how that pans out for the remainder of qualifying.
Yeah, when you go in and you go back on throttle, you feel that the rear starts to move a bit, but it's manageable. But really, the front is good. No, very easy on the long right, but the braking, the turn in, the rear is really the car. Yeah. Sorry, please. Sorry.
Eavesdropping on the conversation between Abdulaziz and Bent Schneider. Abdulaziz Al-Faisal is done for the moment, and Bent Schneider now is given qualifying duties. The older he gets, the quicker he gets, seemingly. He is still mightily competitive, and although having retired from the DTM, he might have thought life would be a bit quieter. He's had so much success, hasn't he, dropping into long-distance races and just being mesmerically good.
The thing, there is no pressure. It's all pleasure, which is a wonderful way to go about your professional motor racing career. So if you're in this as a career where you're doing every round, you know, either sprint or endurance, and there's expectation, but Bernd does essentially the endurance events, though he was pretty mega at Brands Hatch alongside Sam Kubiak.
Yeah.
Just getting a bit of advice. Interesting, you're hearing the comment about the front being very pointy and you don't need a pointy, nervous car, and I don't know why they've got it set up like that personally. So in endurance racing, as in all forms of motorsport, my narrow view of it is you drive the car on the rear wheel, not on the front wheel. But lots of drivers who come from single-seaters, particularly young drivers, want a car when you turn the wheel that it just dives into the corner. Literally, you squeeze the steering wheel and you're in the corner. It might be the marginally quicker way, and it isn't the comfortable way over an endurance event.
The new BMW M6 ready to go. A car, or the type of car that didn't have a huge amount of fortune in the Nürburgring 24 Hours last month, but Giorgio Roda at the wheel ready for Q2, which is underway now because the green flag is shown at the end of the pit lane. We're in business then, and it's the Oman Racing Team, bracket Motorbase Performance, close bracket, Aston Martin, that rumbles out first with Ahmad Al-Hafi at the wheel of the car. He's the Omani part of all of this, a team based in Kent, David Bartram's squad. Number 8 Bentley has got Wolfgang Reip at the wheel. It's going to be an interesting car to watch. Bentley winners here 2 years ago, of course. They had the Silverstone win and then backed it up with victory here in the dark. So Paul Ricard has historically been kind to Bentley, which hasn't had a great start to the season, really. So maybe this will be an important weekend to turn around the fortunes for the M Sport squad. The Malcolm Wilson team that operates the Bentleys, based in the Lake District in Cockermouth, and the Black Falcon Mercedes in the Bilstein shock absorbers colours. 00 Ben Schneider at the wheel. Can we get Ben Schneider quickest in this section of qualifying? Don't bet against it.
Hugo Emder, a name that you may not recognise, but back in the good old days in Formula 2, Hugo Emder was the Bilstein shock absorber man in the paddock, and he used to supply you with Bilstein shock absorbers, which worked a treat, especially on circuits like Nürburgring, which we did race on in Formula 2. But generally, they were great shock absorbers because they were consistent. Whereas the shock absorber that was supplied at that time was the bog standard Armstrong damper, which maybe didn't have quite the qualities that the Bilstein had. So Hugo Emder, a name, I don't know where Hugo Emder is, I hope he's still around, but he did so much for the Bilstein brand in those early 70s.
It's an iconic colour scheme as well, that certainly German motor racing. Ben Schneider at the wheel, then through Signia up onto the curb. There you see those floppy markers, the deterrent to say, right, you need to be back on track now before you reach those. And Ben Schneider swoops his way now through turn 11, through De Bosset, and then up towards the Virage de Bendor, the next long left-hander at turn 12.
Yeah, Colm Landegaard in the Garage 59 McLaren out on his first lap, and he is quickest. Everybody in Sector 1 doesn't mean an awful lot. 44 Aston Martin. Ahim Al-Hati, he's quickest in Sector 2, and now it's changed to 56. So it's gone to Miguel Torrell in the Black Falcon Mercedes. Oliver Morley was in that car. Oliver was beside himself with pleasure at Silverstone, and he bounced up to me like a little Duracell bunny to tell me I'd won the thing. I've won. But Pro-Am, talk about hyper.
Great enthusiast, Oliver Morley, isn't he? Good
He
character.
comes from your part of the world.
Absolutely, that's another reason why he's a good lad.
By the world.
Up north. I think he's a proper Manc, actually, Oliver.
Yeah,
he's a good Manc.
Mancunian.
Yeah, that's far better than me from the Wirral. You know, Manchester's a proper part of the world. Anyway.
And we've got on track, we've got a hay fish. Oh no, it's behind the track. God, I had a heart attack. One of our television support vehicles drove by the TV commentary booth, and it looked like it was actually on track, but it was on the other side of the track. Wow.
Balance of performance.
That would have been an interesting lap, wouldn't it?
It would have been with that, yes. The Toyota Hilux, for which there's not yet a BOP. 11.5 minutes just over remain. Now we're starting to get proper sectors being offered up, and Stefan Ortelli is the man who has done the absolute best in the middle sector in the Jaguar. Now, Ben Schneider has done a personal best, as you'd anticipate, because it's his first flying lap. It's really at the end of this that we start to get a proper order. Number 49, Stefan Lemray, was doing good things when we last looked. You also got 86, Mercedes, doing the absolute best in the first sector. Thomas Jaeger. I still think it's going to be a Mercedes win come the end of the night on the evidence thus far, but we will see. But Thomas Jaeger, who runs the AMG customer support program for Mercedes, he's looking quick, and so also now is Tom Ledegaard, 2 personal bests. So the first lap time is going to be offered up shortly as Ben Schneider there gets caught up in traffic a little bit behind Philippe Guillaume in the 74 Audi, but Guillaume gets out of the way. So Schneider heading up towards the timing line. Let's see where this one puts him. Alman Al-Hafi is the first over the line, so he's the quickest. Briefly, he did a 2 minutes 2.6. Wolfgang Wright's Bentley 2 minutes 1.5. So where does Schneider slot into all of this? It's still Bentley at the top of the times. Towards the timing line now goes Schneider. 2 minutes 1.5 to beat, and Schneider does so. 1:59.153. That was a really serious first lap.
Yes, good effort. Bernd Schneider, as you would expect, the quintessential professional, and in anything you put him into. Still a long way to go, of course. That 1 minute 57.9 from Lucas Ordóñez at the very end of Q1. Bernd Schneider now getting slightly frustrated with the Audi not getting. Oh, he pulled over to the left. A little bit of a hesitation. 49.
Now Stefan Lemray has gone even quicker in the Ferrari, 1:59.098. So 55 thousandths up on Schneider.
A 2-driver car.
Yeah. Yeah, Stefan Lemray taking over the driving duties in the Kaspersky car for the purposes of this weekend, with Alexander Moiseev as the co-driver. Gary Kondakov, who has regularly driven that, has stepped away. He's still here. He's racing this weekend in the GT Sports Car Club event, the Blancpain Series, for effectively bronze drivers, for gentlemen drivers.
And in many respects, he'll have more joy and pleasure in doing that, because look, a 57-car field, of which a significant proportion are professional drivers who are not there to take prisoners. They just don't give it to gentlemen drivers that little bit of breathing space that they like.
Yeah, and it's not much fun.
They want to enjoy their motor racing, and it's not pleasurable if you're being sort of dive-bombed into every corner.
I agree. And looking in your mirrors all the time and not being able to focus on your race. Totally agree, John. Yes, you're right. Alessandro Balzan's Ferrari is now the quickest car, incidentally, 1:58.744. That was the one that Ezequiel Perez-Companc was doing good things with at the end of Q1. You just saw a shot of Stephen Kane as Stefan Ortelli's Jaguar, the Emile Frey Jaguar, quicker than anything in the first sector. Number 7, going back to Stephen Kane, you saw him looking on. The car is on track. It has got Vincent Abril at the wheel. Here it is, coming up towards the end of its lap. So this will be the first proper flying lap out of number 7 Bentley. It will come over the timing line, and where does the lap put it? We wait for it to break the timing beam, and it will go through now. 7th fastest for number 7. Not a bad effort.
But the one to watch is Ortelli, fastest first sector, personal best second sector. But further up, number 90, and I just look at again that Ferrari fastest overall second sector. Nothing particular in the first. Every corner, every lap. Bernd Schneider 1:58.374, second flying lap, fastest overall, third sector. So Bernd Schneider, 4/10 of a second away from fastest overall lap so far.
And Peter Cox for Audi has just gone second. Balzan is third. Mercedes 4th for Andreas Simonsen. And what can Stefan Ortelli do, as we've got another top time, because now Lamborghini, Patrick Niederhauser goes quickest in number 101. But Stefan Ortelli for Jaguar is about to head up towards the final corner then, up through Virage Dupont. Ahead of him is the number 3 Audi. He'll get back onto the throttle now, heading up towards the timing line. Where does number 14 go? Michele Rugolo goes quickest for Ferrari, and Ortelli will go over the timing line. He's caught some traffic, but third fastest is still a good job, 1:58.3.
I mean, this, for me, has always been the great news story of the 2016 championship, that this family-run car team effort, and now with a top-line professional driver like Stefano Telli behind the wheel, it's just a real pleasure to see the little guy up against the might of all the, let's say, Central European manufacturing efforts. Well, not quite Central Europe, but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean, yes.
Yeah.
The underdog, or the under big cat in the Jaguar's case.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. I mean,
now what's all this about?
is this watching? We're looking ahead. There we are.
Whoops.
Coming through turn 5. Yes, somebody has a little loop.
It's one of the Acura ASP
Yeah, strange pace,
Mercedes.
strange pace to spin. Because it's not really a loaded corner.
Number 1 is Frederic
Exactly.
Verviche in the Audi, pushing on, but this car's only 19th at the moment in this session, looking at the isolated times rather than overall for the moment. So taking it Q1, Q2, Q3, looking at it across that method. And in this, Verviche falling down the order, in fact, down to 21st as others start to go faster. Luca Stolz for Lamborghini is the fastest now, number 19, Luca Stolz, ex-Bentley driver in the German Championship, 1:57.5.
Quickest lap of the day so far, eclipsed now the time of Lucas Ladonez in the Nissan. By about 0.3 of a second.
And where is 23 in this session? It's Takaboshi at the wheel. 23 is 23rd. And the lap time is a 1:59.4, so a fair bit slower. Now, in fairness to Takaboshi, he's not raced here before. It's another circuit he's got to learn about and deliver the goods all at the same time.
You know, in fairness, if you're a professional driver, you've had Friday practice sessions. Okay, you've not had hour upon hour. And Vincent Voss looking, you know, quite resplendent with his sort of summer colours.
That's the WRT look, isn't it? You've got Laurens Vanthoor looking all shaved on his bald head now, and Vincent Voss the same. Yeah.
Anyway, just clips on the exit. So,
but yeah, if you're a professional driver, you can just get in and get on with the job, really, can't you, I suppose? You don't need hours and hours of track time.
interesting, you know, just looking at Laurens Vanthoor. Can't stop thinking about Sinead Cusack. I mean, it's terrible, you know, to put the bloke. I mean, I wonder if you superimposed her head on his body, would you tell the difference?
Is it Sinead O'Connor?
Sinead, what did I say, Sinead?
Cusack.
Cusack. O'Connor, you're right.
Yes.
Too many Sineads in Ireland.
But I know who you mean.
Sinead
Yes.
O'Connor, yes.
As long as Laurens Vanthoor doesn't start singing or crying, then we'll be fine.
Number 50.
Yeah.
Michele Rugolo.
Is the top time.
Yeah, and again, that's by just 41 thousandths of a second from the sister Ferrari.
Now, how BMW is getting on, because you're looking at 98. That car's not really doing very much in this session as yet. I'm trying to find it even. It is, gosh, 30th.
A little bit of tightening the exit for the 98 BMW. The 99 car, Philip Eng, currently 6th quickest. The 98 BMW, waiting to see if it's going to make it onto the first page. It goes into 10th place.
Jens Klingman at the wheel of it, so that car now does deliver. Absolute best in Sector 1 and 2 personal bests. How are McLaren doing? We've got to go quite a long way down, haven't we, to find a McLaren in this section of qualifying, John?
Well, they're not on
24th.
the first page. They'll look over the second page. I can't quite see from my...
24th is Ricard. Yeah.
So the Lamborghini number 16. In Jerome Blake-Mullen behind the wheel in 9th place. Nothing remarkable in the first sector, nothing remarkable in the second sector. So there's a building lap. Oh!
So much for track limits.
Get to the gendarme, arrest that man.
Now you can see why the race director has put the floppy markers in, that was definite abuse, wasn't it?
Absolutely. 86 Thomas Jaeger, fastest overall in Sector 1. So the Mercedes personal best Sector 2, so keep an eye on 86, because that's a car that is going to see, in my view, an improvement on its present 5th place.
And what have we got left? Just under 3 minutes of this second part of qualifying. Yeah, so Thomas Jaeger, who is another of those light bulb drivers, you sort of screw him into a car and he delivers, switch him on and he will deliver the goods. He's their 5th fastest and looking to improve further. So it's Rugolo from Piccini, Ferrari from Lamborghini, 3rd Lamborghini Niederhauser, 4th Ferrari Balzan. Ledegard's McLaren has just gone 3rd though.
I was just going to say, where will that McLaren end up? And you took the very words out of my mouth. Into 3rd place, because they'd been lingering down in the 30s, and all of a sudden Colm Ledegard just nailed it, got that time. And I mean, how predictable is what we're watching? I mean, compared to what we saw on Friday evening, or in the running that we had on Friday evening, no indication that what we are seeing now was going to. And where is 23 right now? Where's the 23 Nissan? Has it fallen off page 1?
It was 23rd last time we looked. It's 30th now.
Yeah, well, it's dropping away.
Yeah.
Which is somewhat of a surprise. Takaboshi would be somebody who, in my view, as a professional driver, would get to grips very quickly with the circuit. There's Thomas Jaeger. Well, there was Thomas Jaeger in the Mercedes. That car didn't make an improvement on 6th place. It looked at one stage it was going to do so.
Takaboshi's got up to 21st. You're looking at the sister car there of Romain Sarrazin, the PlayStation Academy winner, first year of racing. And 22 is further down the pecking order at the moment, as you might anticipate.
Yes, we haven't. It's the first time we've seen 22 so far today. It's all the way down, presently in 56th place.
Yeah,
I mean,
penultimate.
Not relevant. As Romain Sarrazin in the car. There is this 22 Nissan coming onto pit straight. Let's see. This should be somewhat quicker than a 1 or 2 minute 01, which was its previous best lap. So where has the 22 car gone to? Well, nothing, it seems, on that lap.
Now McLaren's still pressing on.
Yeah.
Because down 32nd, Alex Fontana in the car that he shares with Andrew Watson and Struan Moore. And that car pressing on, trying to improve. You've got the Henri Acide Audi there, number 74. And an improvement comes from 53 now to go up to 4th fastest.
And that's the quickest of the AM cars, I believe. Is that right?
You're right. Sorry, Pro-Am cars,
Pro-Am,
yes.
okay.
That's the Motoaki Ishikawa, Lorenzo Bontempelli, Olivier Beretta car. That's a Bontempelli time, and Beretta still to go. That car could well be quickest in Q3 with Beretta at the wheel, as he was quickest in the free practice, the pre-qualifying last night, or yesterday afternoon, late yesterday afternoon.
Nothing like a Ferrari on pole position to draw in the fans, and they were queuing up this morning as I was coming to the racetrack. I came in at about 6 o'clock this morning, and the fans were lining up waiting for the gates to be open. And then I realised I'd made a mistake, went back to bed, came in at 8:30.
They were lining up just to see you, John, I tell you.
No, they weren't. They wouldn't even know. My generation of drivers is the forgotten generation.
Now they're number 333, a rather different car this weekend, because rather than having Marco Seefried and Norbert Siedler here, it's a combination of Rinat Salikov, normally in the Pro-Am, or this year the Pro Cup, and Pierre Eret from the AM, merging just the two drivers into one car.
I mean, when I looked at the entry list, 333, one of the ones we looked at.
Yeah.
Where were the Siedler and Siegfried? What's happened to them? Is there another event on in Europe that they're competing in, or
Possibly.
or is there just is it something the team has decided to maybe save their drivers for Nürburgring or save them for Spa 24? I don't know.
I need to have another look at what else he's on, but it's certainly a quirk for the weekend. Now the flag is out, and it is Lorenzo Bontempelli, the fastest. I said he was 4th a little while ago, but he's gone quicker still for Ferrari, and he has done a time at 1:57.227, and that car's only going to go and get quicker. You've got a Ferrari 1-2 because it's Bontempelli from Rugolo. 3rd is Lamborghini, 4th is McLaren, 5th is Lamborghini, 6th is Lamborghini. Phil Keane has gone 6th in the Barwell car, 7th and 8th Mercedes, 9th Lamborghini, and 10th BMW. Interesting mix, not an Audi.
I wonder why. I'd like to see straight line speeds. We need to try and get a straight line speed to see who is quick and who is quick.
Yeah. Well, post-session, when the timekeepers release all the data with the sector times and the speed tracks, we can get a better handle on that. But for now, we know the Ferrari is a slippery car. We've seen that at Monza, the same with the Lamborghini, and they're doing well, and the McLaren's in good shape as well. But yeah, the Audi, where's the best Audi in that session? 13th, Will Stevenson, number 28. And Ben Schneider only 14th.
Strange. I mean, it all came on the second flying lap, and then all of a sudden, other teams' driver pairings sort of moved forward, and the Mercedes didn't really do that. But all this is really just the build-up to the final session, which is about to get underway in about 5 minutes' time, and then we'll get an indication, maybe not a true picture, but an indication of what we can expect to see, and certainly in terms of the opening hour or a couple of hours. But this is a long race, and lots of little errors can creep in. mistakes, especially during pit stops, and that's the thing that you've got to be really careful of, to make sure that everything in the pit, there's not too many people over the wall, too much sort of more haste, less speed, or less speed, more haste, as it were. So lots of little errors can creep in, and that's where the race will be won and lost.
Yes, it was 2 years ago, wasn't it, that one of the teams, it was the Kessel Racing Ferrari, ended up with a penalty because of an extra mechanic touching a wheel in a pit stop.
Absolutely.
And that exceeded, it was all for the right intention, trying to stop a wheel bouncing, but it was another mechanic.
Contravention of the regulations.
Absolutely, yeah. So everybody has to be on their toes, not just the drivers, but everybody in the pit lane as well. So now, the next driver switch goes over, and we get ready for Q3, and this is where the grid really is going to be formed, because you're going to have the faster driver in every car. You're going to have the cars at their lightest, because you don't refuel during qualifying, so therefore the cars go through the fuel tank, get lighter and lighter, get quicker towards the end, and so we're going to be in business very shortly for this final element of qualifying, the race which will start at 6 o'clock this evening local time, goes to midnight, plus the podiums after it, and thus far looking good for Ferrari then. So it was a 1:57.9 that Lucas Ordóñez did in Q1, a 1:57.2 from Bontempelli in the second part of qualifying. But are we going to end up with a Ferrari quickest? Well, Olivier Beretta last night was fastest in that car, number 53, which is, as you might anticipate, given that it's a quick Ferrari run by Amato Ferrari's AF Corsa team. And thus far it's an AF Corsa 1-2 if you take the Q2 times, because you've got Bontempelli and Rugolo as the top two. And battle is going to be rejoined any moment as the fleet of WRT Audis gets ready. That pit area just below where we are in the commentary booth. And AF Corsa's fleet also further up the pit lane being made ready for the next part of qualifying.
Yeah. Just looking down through the field, and we saw that number 23 Nissan, quickest overall, as you mentioned, in Sector 1. 22 Nissan, just getting word from the pit lane that they had a problem with a boost pipe failure, which is a very rare occurrence, but it took its toll.
Now this is where we are at the moment. If you take the two elements of qualifying, so you take the best time that has been set across the two elements, and it is Bontempelli the fastest ahead of Rugolo. Then Lukas Stoltz, we were being told, was in the last stint for the number 19 Lamborghini. Colm Lennegaard did the time for McLaren, Patrick Niederhauser, and then Phil Keane in the next two cars. The Jaguar only 13th thus far, but don't expect the grid to stay like this. It's all going to shuffle around when we get things underway very shortly. Number 28 Audi now 16th, again take the best times. Number 00 Mercedes 17th, and number 1 Audi only 18th, so there's an awful lot yet to come. Cars, as you look down through the order, thinking that should be higher, that should be higher. Trouble is, they can't all be up there. 25th though is where number 7 Bentley is. Stephen Kane is going to have to pull something out of the bag, I think, in this next 15 minutes. So it's going to be interesting, isn't it, to see how what we have at the moment as a formation translates to the actual grid itself. 57 cars, so as ever there's traffic management to factor into all of this, and after the two elements of qualifying, this is the provisional order, and you can see as well how we are in the classes, with 888 being the quickest AM car, the Marco Zannottini Liam Talbot Ferrari, the time having just been posted in that car by Vadim Gitin, former Ferrari Challenge racer. And the slowest car at the moment, surprisingly, is 85. Now, that is the Clement Schmidt, Indy Dontje, Luciano Bacchetta Mercedes, suggesting that there's a problem there because you've got 3 quick drivers. So, just looking down the pit lane, pretty sure I can see the car on the pit apron down at HTP. Yes, it's there, ready to go, but as Lorenzo Bontempelli is a happy man, rather less happy, the drivers of Mercedes 85, that might be one that Dakota can go and investigate for, as why that car, particularly 85, has yet to do a proper lap time, really.
And looking into the engine bay in a 488 Ferrari with those twin turbos, and really has given the 458 family a real boost in terms of certainly engine efficiency, but also engine performance and the drivability, because with a turbo engine, of course, you multiply almost, not literally, but you increase the amount of torque that's being delivered at a much lower engine power range than you would with a normally aspirated version of the 458. So the 488 showing its pedigree, and yeah, pretty impressive. So Hjalmar Berman will be behind the wheel of the 00 Mercedes-Benz. having seen Bernd Schneider do his bit, did a good job, but the times didn't continue to drop once they'd established that point where they were the second quickest car on track. And really, thinking now from what we have watched in these two sessions, if you were asked to put your money on a driver pairing car combination for pole position, where would you go? Because is there any sort of continuity from what we have seen from Friday evening through these two sessions? Nissan was quick in the first one, Ferrari quickest in the second. You have to think that a Ferrari in one configuration or other is going to be the class of the field. But can you discount, and looking at the Mercedes with the BRDC badge, and that's the 85 car, that will be, and who's the BRDC member? I don't quite get that one.
Which car is that, sorry?
The 85 HTP Mercedes. Who's the, it's Indy Donja.
No, it'll be Baquetta.
But how can Baquetta be? Oh, is he, he's British, indeed he is.
Yeah.
They keep thinking Baquetta's an Italian name.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah,
but no, he's a British driver.
And I made that mistake. I said, "Ciao, Luciano. Come stai?" They said, "What do you want, mate?" Don't speak any Italian.
So number 85, we understand, has yet to run new tyres, and that seems to make the difference. The team is either not giving anything away or keeping powder dry and all the other cliches that can be trotted out. So the advice from the team is don't get concerned just yet. We'll see how that car goes in this next element of qualifying now that Luciano Baquetta is installed behind the wheel. Can I press you for a prediction for which car is going to be on pole position, John, or is that an unfair question?
I sort of asked the question a minute ago while you were studying your, whatever it was you were studying. I haven't got a clue. Frankly, I mean, I don't think anybody knows, because we're seeing times evolve during the first two qualifying sessions from, well, where did that come from? Where did that come from? We saw the 23 Nissan dominate, then the Ferrari. I mean, personally, I have to say, from what we have seen, it looks to me like Ferrari have got a very good package, certainly in terms of out-and-out speed. What's the damage done to the right front of the Bentley? Now, that's sort of on its outlap, not something you would imagine would have been part of the setup of the car. Inner guard in the Bentley is suddenly looks like it's detaching itself from the car. Is that because he has hit something, or because it's just of its own volition decided to pop out? That needs to go back into the pits. Well, information from the pit lane indicating it may have left the pit lane like that. Well, who would have been responsible for that? That to me is if either a big lump of rubber, which you get loads of pickup around a racetrack, maybe a ball of rubber has just detached something, but it's really, unusual to see that. A part of the inner guard and part of the attachment. As we look into the Bentley garage, and some consternation as to what that might well be. Got to get the car back in, obviously going to lose time. 12 minutes remaining in the session, so that's going to be a slow lap in, get it into the pits. A few heads peer into it as we look at the 99 BMW.
Yeah, the team will have a case to answer for that if it did leave the pits that way, and possibly also the scrutineers, which have said, boy, hang on.
I think it's difficult to see how a team could release a car with something so glaringly obviously wrong with it. So, it may be that on its way out, something hadn't been fully attached. Maybe, I sort of mentioned the balls of rubber. You get large bits of rubber, and they can, they just gel together almost like a cricket ball at times. And then it gets flung from a wheel, and that could do quite a bit of damage, but I suspect it's something much less complex than that. That's a little task for Dakota Jane. Oh, there it is there. It's now become a detached part, and that's, of course, a rather not demanding part of the racetrack. It's off the racing line. Nevertheless, you might see a stationary or statutory yellow flag at that part of the track with 11 minutes remaining. And currently, it is Stephen Kane who's done the fastest middle sector, but fastest lap 1:57.398 by the sister Bentley. Maxime Soulet, the star of Silverstone in the Bentley, on that new set of tyres in the third stint. And that's been overtaken. 34. Down my sheet. Ferrari. Matteo Magliucelli, 1:57.256, and then Maxime Soulet at further just over a tenth of a second behind. Baumann in the 0-0, not Baumann, in the 0-0. Berman, not Baumann. Has gone third quickest, but is fastest now in that first sector.
And Stephen Kane is 9th, but we'll get a better, proper lap out of Stephen. Meantime, Ferrari engineers study the data. That's the Scuderia Praha car that Matteo Baricelli drives, along with Jiri Pisarik and Stefan Cox, Peter Cox's daughter, driving that car this weekend as well. Now there is 0-0. That's Jelmer Berman, who, if you think back to the last year of the FIA GT1 World Championship, was hard at work in GT cars and has always remained a very, very rapid driver.
Yeah, I mean, had to run very wide down in turn 11 and now being trapped behind the Lamborghini, and all the work that he's done in Sector 1, fastest overall, personal best, Sector 2 is just evaporating as the Lamborghini goes about its work. It's trying to do its best, but unfortunately it's not good enough, and Berman is going to be mightily frustrated because he's going to lose also not just this lap in terms of what would have been potentially a pole-sitting lap, but going on to the following lap, he still is behind the Lamborghini. And look at the squirt the Lamborghini has on for final turn. So Berman will be, no doubt, mighty frustrated. And that car ended up 6th best lap, 1:57.6. And a sector time that was almost 3/4 of a second down on the best overall in that final sector.
Now, fastest currently is number 50, which is John's mate, Alessandro Pierguidi, the ever-spectacular Italian. So it's a Ferrari at the top of the times, 1:57.036 by 0.185 from Maxime Soulet, number 8 Bentley.
And Alessandro Pierguidi has gone fastest overall in the first sector on his 3rd lap. So we may see the first, I think, in GT3 and Blancpain, first sub 1 minute 57 lap. Could be a high 156 point something or other.
There's Marucelli, who was the quickest a little while ago. He's now fallen to 4th because Mauro Engel has got 56 Mercedes now, up to 3rd fastest, winner of the Nürburgring 24 Hours with his last lap dive on Christian Hernadel. But Mauro Engel had been the pole man. He absolutely blitzed everybody that weekend. He was just awesome. And he's 3rd fastest, and it's the Pro-Am car that won at Silverstone, as Oliver Morley might tell you if you find him in the paddock. He might tell you at length, I think. So Mauro Engel could even put that car on pole position from Pro-Am, but I suspect against the Ferrari it might be a big ask, but we will see. 7.5 minutes on the clock. We're just about at halfway in this final part of qualifying.
56.709. Alessandro Pierguidi has broken that 157 by a significant amount. He's now over half a second faster than number 8 Bentley, Maxime Soulet, and that is a mega lap.
Absolutely right. Really impressive, isn't it, that? And we're not done yet because we've got more improvements coming. And one of them is Stephen Kane, who has done a personal and an absolute best. So number 7 Bentley is on an absolute mission at the moment. You're looking at 51 Ferrari there, working its way up towards the end of the lap. That's the car of Peter Mann, Francisco Guedes and Rino Mastronardi. It's one of the Am Cup cars. There is Stephen Kane. So personal, absolute best, 11th at the start of the lap. Stephen Kane goes over the timing line now, and as he does so, he goes quickest of all, a 1:56.646. Fantastic job.
It's not only the Northern Ireland football team that's into the top 16.
If Stephen goes any quicker, John will do his impersonation of the Icelandic football commentator with excitement.
I'll have to rebook my tickets to be here for the race.
So Stephen Kane, by 63 thousandths of a second, goes to the top of the times. That got quite a good reception from the Bentley Pratt perch in front of us, I'll tell you.
Yeah, again, I mean, who would have thought it? I mean, bang, put Stephen Kane in the Bentley. You know he is the go-to guy to deliver a performance. Did a stunning job here in a mesmeric race with Alex Buncombe in the Nissan. That final hour was just awesome. I think Stephen Kane spun coming out of turn 7. I mean, literally, the emotions were raw by the time that race finished.
And then they had to do it all over again, didn't they, at the Nürburgring round to decide who was going to be the champion last year. That great fight that they had in the last hour of the race. Now, number 1 Audi, Laurens Vanthoor, 12 fastest, just has done, incidentally, a personal best lap. But the Audi here, not quite sparkling in the way you might anticipate. But as we said earlier, Audis traditionally don't do that well here.
Yeah, but remember, when it comes to rotating driver changes, wheel, tyre, fuel stops, that's such well-exercised, experienced WRT team. They know how to win endurance races. But it'll be a mighty big ass. It will be a mighty big ass.
That is for sure, as the drivers look on in the garage.
Yeah, Van Thor, as you would have said in an English public school, 2.
Yes.
Didn't do senior and junior. It was Addison 1, Addison 2, Addison 3.
Or major and minor, Van Tour minor.
We had major and minor as well. That was sometimes at a sort of a lesser prep school.
Right, okay.
Of which England's got many.
As for Belgium's education system, number 1 then, with Big Brother at the wheel, Laurens Van Thor at the moment, then 2 personal bests here, so there should be an improvement on the cards, John.
Possibly.
No just traffic up the road either.
Well, just looking down, lap times at car 10 have been deleted, so that's, who was car 10, just to remind myself, it is the Ombra Racing Lamborghini, Matteo Barretta, okay, who's behind the wheel, and 0-0 must respect track limits at turn 2, and that's the Hjalmar Berman car, so Hjalmar Berman has been on the exit of turn 2. I'm delighted to see we're getting a lot of notifications, and drivers are now finally being properly policed.
Yeah. Got the floppy markers at turn 2. That's the scene in the WRT garage at the moment.
I want to see, where's Jan Magnussen? We were looking for Jan. Where is he in timing and scoring?
He's in number 3, Audi, is he not? The car is 14th with Felipe Albuquerque at the wheel of it. So Jan...
Did we miss? We must have missed Jan.
He's in Q2, yeah, he didn't really stand out, did he, I'm afraid.
Not at all. No.
The Great Dane, blitzed British Formula 3, but never really had the Formula 1 career that was anticipated of him.
I think what really destroyed Jan Magnussen's Formula 1 career was when Ron Dennis, when Jan was driving for McLaren, went to his hotel bedroom one day and was like a bomb had gone off. It just was disorganized chaos. And Ron went, oh, the driver can't, you know. It was that mentality. If you've got a guy who's untidy in his own personal habits, maybe he's not the guy for my team. And that was a very small part of maybe it was the end of Jan Magnussen's career at McLaren.
Yeah, great shame after the promise he'd shown.
Well, a natural ability and talent above and beyond his intelligence. But, you know, that was what a lot of racing drivers are about. They're not deep thinkers, you know. They're not all sort of, you know, I can't think of a philosopher off the top of my head at the minute. They're go-to guys, they get in a car and they drive the wheels off it.
And somebody who's doing just that, somebody else who had a brief Formula 1 career, Olivier Beretta, because the Monegasque driver is up to 3rd, the one-time LaRousse Formula 1 driver, so guesting for Ferrari, for AF Corsa. He's on a 1:56.966. Beretta was a possible pole man, well, he's almost there, he's 3rd, and we've got just over 2 more minutes of the session to go. And Beretta is on another mission because he has just done yet another personal best, 84, with Maximilian Buch at the wheel. Can you believe has done the same time to the 1,000th of a second as Callum McLeod's Bentley. So 1:57.543, the 3 of them, exactly the same times. Because Maximilian Buch did it later, he will take the lower grid position, 1:57.543.
Maxime Soulet, Bentley 1 and 2.
Absolutely, he's gone quickest by 0.134 of a second, so Soulet ahead of Stephen Kane. Take that, Stephen.
Well, I was going to say, who's go-to guy, Steve? Maxime Soulet was outstanding at Silverstone in the 3-hour race there, that final stint. I mean, really, really, did he ever horse that Bentley around the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit? And again, Bentley now 1 and 2. Who could have predicted it?
Well, we know they go well round here historically, but on the evidence of the season, it is a surprise, I'll grant you, but we're not done yet. What about Maximilian Buch as he comes up towards the line? No, that's not going to be an improvement because the sectors were slower. Through he goes.
And a minute to go, so he'll be able to finish this lap, but nothing that looks remarkable on his timing and scoring. So the 84 Mercedes, currently looking down to see where it is. It's 15th. Down in 15th. I mean, in reality, it's not a disaster.
Beretta goes quickest, so the Ferrari was predicted goes top, 1:56.443, 69 thousandths up on the opposition with 40 seconds to go. You're looking at number 111, the Am Cup car of Daniele Perfetti, but it is Olivier Beretta, fastest yesterday, fastest now, 1:56.443. So Ferrari versus Bentley at the front.
I'll tell you what, this is as good as it gets. I mean, who needs a 6-hour race? Let's just call it a result. Ferrari has won, Bentley second and third. Job done, let's go back and turn to the beach. But it is...
Now Ferrari 1-2. Alessandro Pierguidi by a tenth goes quicker than Beretta, so Pierguidi 56.343.
But Stephen Kane dropped down from first to fourth, responding fastest first sector on this lap. Nothing particularly remarkable, not bad, but not remarkable in sector 2. He needs a clear lap. He's behind another car coming through scene. Will that have a bearing on his overall second grid position? Fourth overall. So Stephen Kane did what he was asked to do, comes across start-finish line. Can he find a further improvement? That was the number 8 Bentley, I think, coming across the line. So Stephen Kane, no, he can't. He stays in 4th place.
Yeah. And Shane van Gisbergen has gone 5th, right at the very end for McLaren, 156.777. There is Stephen Kane, so 5th fastest. Ferrari, Bentley, McLaren, and then 6th. Ferrari, because Matt Griffin, we've not talked about Matt, but he is 6th fastest. Guy Smith looks on, not all smiles. Guy racing in Blancpain, but also in the German Championship this year, as you look at 58. Now, what can Shane van Gisbergen do on his last lap? He's done a personal Sector 1 best, lost out in Sector 2, however, by 0.4 of a second. I'm not convinced he's going to come back on this lap, actually. Oliver Morley all smiles in the pit lane, because Mauro Engel is doing great things again in his Mercedes. But I think the gears may have bailed on this lap. He comes up towards the completion of it, working his way through that final sequence of corners, through the Courbe de Gabelin, and then up towards Dulac, and then the Virage du Pont at the end of the lap. And will he pit or will he go for a time? 6th fastest. Shane van Gisbergen looks like he's going to go for a time, stay out to the checkered flag, but he lost out in the middle sector, lost about 0.4 there, so the lap time is an improvement, surprisingly. It's a 56.557, it puts him 5th, so it was worth staying out for, and had he not lost out in that middle sector, could have been even better still, but 5th in the end for Shane van Gisbergen. So we'll run through the times once everybody's taken the flag. I can't see too many more people that are going to improve. Maximilian Buch only 17th in the end, so HTP not having a marvellous time of it. Where was 85 once Luciano Bacchetta got behind the wheel? Clement Schmidt was put behind the wheel, according to the timing screen for the last part of qualifying. 34th.
Well, 34th. I mean, a lot of cars, a lot of quick cars out of place. And just to see with the 23 Nissan, which was the quickest car, at the end, well, that's Alex Buncombe, 21st. Sister car, Sean Walkinshaw, who's had a miserable session. That 22 Nissan's had problems throughout the session. They only managed to get 48th. That's going to be a huge disappointment to Sean Walkinshaw, because he was actually quicker in Friday running than the sister 23 car. So their problems principally with a boost pipe detaching or failing in the first segment. Has had a knock-on effect for that number 22 Nissan in only being able to achieve a 48th position starting position. Alessandro Pierguidi, and the yellow, the fly yellow. I don't know, would I choose fly yellow if I was buying a 488?
It's a bit you keep National Belge, isn't it? But
it is, yes.
At least from our point of view, the cars are different in their livery. We haven't got 20-odd red Ferraris to confuse life.
A Ferrari should be red, unfortunately.
I do agree.
I mean, it's just the people that drive red Ferraris you wonder about.
We'll take it as red. So that's the quickest car, right colour or wrong, and Alessandro Pierguidi, the man behind the wheel of it. Now, of course, there's the next fascination in all of this. We know who the gun drivers are, but who's going to start the race? And therefore, how is the first few laps going to look relative to the grid? There are going to be some cars that will climb and some that will fall accordingly. It's only now as well, when you get all the cars coming back down the pit lane, that you realise even at a modern facility like this, and it is relatively modern, just how busy that pit lane is going to be. There's not a huge amount of room. So, qualifying is done. We look forward to the race later on today, based on the grid that will provisionally, barring any penalties, look like this, with quickest being Alessandro Pierguidi in the car that he shares with Passin Lathoris and Michele Rugolo, ahead of Olivier Beretta. And then third, the best of the Bentleys, with Maxime Soulet doing the time, Stephen Kane's sister car fourth, Shane van Gisbergen's McLaren fifth, And then Matteo Malocelli's Ferrari for the emerging Scuderia Praha, 6th. 7th fastest, Matt Griffin. 3 drivers for that. You'll notice this weekend Davide Rizzo joining Matt and Duncan Cameron. Luca Stoltz, 8th for Lamborghini. Jelmer Berman's Mercedes, 9th. And then 10th, another of the mighty Mercs, Mauro Engel in the Pro-Am car. 11th, Robin Frins doing the time with Stuart Leonard and Michael Meadows for WRT, and Franck Pereira with his Audi, the Henri Acide car, again from Pro-Am, 12th fastest. 13th is where you find the number 11 Kessel Racing Ferrari, with Andrea Rizzoli doing the time ahead of your own Mull's Lamborghini, Mirko Bortolotti's Lamborghini next, and then Callum McLeod's Bentley doing exactly the same time as Maximilian Buch's Mercedes. Rene Rast, 18th, but ahead of Laurence Vantor and Felipe Albuquerque. Alex Buncombe, 21st, ahead of Maxime Jus, Marco Mappelli, and Johnny Adams, Aston Martin, 24th. Then 25th, the Attempto Lamborghini number 101 with Daniel Zampieri at the wheel, ahead of Albert Costa in the Jaguar. Andrew Watson's McLaren, 27th. Alexander Sims' BMW next, ahead of Marco Bononomi's Audi. Then the best of the AMs, David Perel, ahead of Jules Chimkoviak, only 31st, a long way down that HTP car, but so is 98 BMW with Dirk Werner at the wheel. Mike Parisi a long way back, only 34th. Pierre Caffer and Peter Cox only 35th. So there's an awful lot of drivers, and we often have this, of course, with such a big grid and so many good teams and good drivers. Something has to give, and over the course of the race, expect cars to climb up the order. Salaquada and Stippler only 38th, but I mean, it's where they are at the end of 6 hours that counts.
Well, that's the point. I mean, Frank Stippler, Philippe Salaquada, Stockinger, and that car, you've got to think they're going to make progress, but it's going to take 6 hours for us to find out quite where.
And of course, you've got the driver changes, you've got the tyres, you've got fuel. There'll be disc and pad changes inevitably during the course of 6 hours. So there's a lot to look for when we get underway at 6 o'clock this evening. The slowest car, Miro Konopka's Lamborghini, the ARC Bratislava car, that ends up 57th.
But it is the prettiest car in the field, there's no question.
Now, Alessandro Pierguidi, the man that did the top time, he no doubt will be all smiles, and Dakota has caught up with him.
That was incredibly fast.
Yeah, it was really a good lap. So finally, I would like to say, because I want to say thanks to of course to Ferrari, because we had a difficult race, the first and second in Monza and Silverstone. Finally here, we had a good setup, we did a few tests, so finally the car is very good, very, very good. And I was surprised when I read the lap time in the dash, so it was okay, it was really good. The track was quick also. And we did a very good job, so I'm happy, I'm confident for the race, start from pole for sure, and we have a strong crew, so I think we can be a good race for us.
Do you think Ferrari has the pace to keep the whole 6 hour race?
I hope so. I don't know, because the car is brand new, so so everything is a surprise for us, but we are doing a good job race by race, and we are in good shape here. I think so we'll be strong in the race.
Well, thank you very much. Good luck for the race, and I'll see you on the grid later.
Thank you. See you later.
Alessandro Pierguidi then, the fastest man in qualifying, and a good job done there. Olivier Beretta in the background. And under the cloudless skies, Paul Ricard now gets ready for a busy day of support racing. There's the Formula V8 3.5 Championship here. There is the Lamborghini Blancpain Super Trofeo, and there is also the Blancpain GT Sports Club as well. So AF Corsa celebrate. We'll have a quick look back in a moment at some of the highlights of that qualifying session, and then make sure you join us just before 6 o'clock, ready for the race itself here at Paul Ricard. So this is how it looked to begin with, as everybody went pouring out on track, ready for the start of qualifying, with the number 2 Audi hustling on, trying to find clear track space, and the Bentleys, Works, and the privateer Parker car getting themselves together. Q1, the big surprise, Nissan's rejuvenated pace. Lucas Ordonez topping the times, but the variety of the entry highlighted by the Raymond Narak IMSA Performance Porsche, and spinning AKA ASP Mercedes as well, just interrupting the pace of one or two of the quicker drivers behind. Lights flashing through the traffic, people hustling on, some running way wide, ignoring the floppy markers on the outside of Senior, and that giving rise to penalties. Number 15 BMW almost running out of road as well, but Ordonez was in good form in that first part of qualifying, but ultimately it is Ferrari that will top the times. Rejoin us later for the race here at Paul Ricard.